Good. Anneke, we have taken a break, and I believe we are ready now for a second part. And we agreed in the break that it would be important for people to have graphic images of what happened to you, because it's not out of sensationalism or anything, but people can still push this away as a girl with a lot of fantasy and whatever.
You can try.
Yeah, and a lot of people, a lot of people will,
Oh, yeah.
but there's material in here that is, so incredibly out of, any normal stuff that the easiest way is to discard it as fiction. But I believe you, and I want you to tell about those experiences so that. This is a challenge for the viewer and the listeners, to keep listening and to not just cower away and say, no, this is fiction. It really happened. So I don't know where to start, really. Perhaps we should start with what I consider as the most cruel character in your book, and that is Michel Nihoul. And when I finished reading your book, I was so angry that I said, if I ever meet him in like purgatory, where I will end up for sure because I'm not a saint, I'm gonna club him to death. Immediately followed by the thought, well, if I would do that, I would re-enter dualism, and the whole art of this game is to transcend dualism, going to holism and seeing everything with love. But it's very hard for me to see with love a person that has done what he has done to you. And maybe we can start with the most graphic scene, and that is when you complained as a child that you were hungry.
I complained to an abuser that I was hungry.
You complained to an abuser that you were hungry. Can you tell the story as you see it and lived it?
Sure. So Michel Nihoul was very much the middle person for everybody there. So he was the gopher. He was an extremely big fan of Paul van den Boeynants and tried to mimic him. And he was extremely pleased. He was like the classic brown nose. He just wanted to please the big shot.
The brown nose?
He was
sticking his nose up there.
Yeah.
Okay, I didn't know the expression.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, so he hated me. He always hated me. And he really hated Patrick Hamers also, because Patrick Hamers, if you will, was really young, 20 years old at the time, but he was also really condescending to Nihoul and treated him like a gopher, and of course Nihoul did not appreciate that at all.
And Nihoul was afraid of him because Patrick was a killer. Right.
Patrick threatened him, in fact, in front of me once. Threatened to kill him once in front of me. And Patrick got his power in the network because he was known as someone who was not afraid to kill. Had a gun and not afraid to use it. And so Patrick intimidated Nihoul, in front of me. But Nihoul was the middleman, and he dealt a lot with the children. And he organized things for everyone, for the orgies. And even though he was never at this place, the place where I had told this man that I got hungry was in a mansion where I was taken, and I was just put in a small room while all men had meetings, secret meetings, in a wood-paneled room that I would never enter. It seemed like they were maybe secret club meetings. And I was in a little room, and so men would come all night there.
To rape you.
To rape me.
Mm-hmm.
And I once told someone who had been there several times that I got hungry, which was true. And he apparently told Nihoul. And so my mother dropped me off in a villa in Sint-Genesius-Rode.
Close to Brussels?
Close to Brussels. A nice white villa with a circular cobblestone drive backyard, like a back courtyard, with a rounded entry, French doors to enter. So he had set up a table, and I was there were about 10 children there, and he was mimicking. It seemed like he was mimicking the dramatics of Van den Boeynants. And when he did, usually it was in such bad taste. Because Van den Boeynants was actually very funny. Sometimes with his dry humor, cruel, incredibly cruel, but funny. But when Nihul copied it, it was
laughable.
But it was disgusting. When he did it, it was just disgusting. He thought he was very funny. But he basically said, when all the children were there, that there's somebody, Elle, and pointing at me, that's complaining to our guests that she gets hungry, and I just want to make sure that you will never need to complain about being hungry again. So he made his little speech and a lot of pomp, and he went inside, and then he returned, and he brought a plate, and on it was basically a piece of the remains of a child.
Stuffed in the oven, but already rotting. And then what happened?
And he reconstructed the remains of the child on the table with different oven plates. He forced the children to eat the meat. Making jokes the whole way through.
And you were scared to death.
Well, I wasn't too scared to pick up his tooth, because the tooth fell out. I was at the head, and his tooth fell up on the plate, and Nihul didn't notice because he was serving a child on the other side, and I just snuck the tooth out of the tray and put it in my pocket. But he did make us eat that, and I kind of just put a lot of salt on it, and it was rotten meat, but there's no way that you can't taste it, and it's just such a sacrilege. So I took the tooth, and then the next day I ended up alone at home, and I gave him a burial with a tooth. Just spent some time quietly sitting there and just thinking about the boy, and it was a beautiful day. He can't, enjoy the sun anymore, and
But you did what you could.
I just sat there, I just sat with him, with the idea, and just tried to send him some love. And I wanted to put forget-me-nots on the grave, on the little grave, but I didn't know what they looked like, so I just went and picked some blue flowers, actually, from the woods. And that was outside my bedroom window. As was a milk tooth. It was a small boy.
Did you know the boy? Did you know who it was? Was it recognizable? No.
Not recognizable, really. Blonde hair, stubbly blonde hair. And from the size, I would say maybe 8, but who knows? But maybe it was stretched out, or maybe, maybe, I don't know. But Nihul dealt with bodies of children. They called them cleaners.
Yeah.
And I know that Nihul was, at that time, he was a cleaner Michel Nihoul, this is not in the book, but Michel Nihoul once forced us children to dig up the body of another child.
Yeah. And I think he was particularly sadist. That scene, you have to, I imagine
like no feeling, nothing.
No,
It
totally
was
disconnected.
Totally disconnected and making jokes the whole way through.
Yeah.
Like
you'll never be hungry again.
It was nothing.
Yeah.
It was nothing. Like it wasn't even so much about the sadism of seeing the children suffer, which for some perpetrators it was to see us suffer, to see our fear, and to see our, it wasn't even that with Nihoul. I didn't really feel that he didn't like me, but I didn't really feel that it was, you couldn't even feel that it was very personal, if that makes sense.
It does. Do you believe that there are people who don't have a soul?
No, I think the soul can be completely covered.
Yeah, that must have been his case. Like when he brought you to the basement as a punishment, and he came with a box. What did you do wrong actually in that case?
What I did wrong was when I was beaten up by Paul van den Boeinans, I didn't scream.
And you were punished for not screaming, for not giving Van den Boeinans what he actually wanted.
Well, Van den Boeinans wanted me to scream.
And you didn't.
So so this needs a little more. So Van den Boeinans, he needed to win. Always had to be on top. So when he beat me up and he wanted me to scream, and I didn't scream, even though it was a misunderstanding in a way, because I didn't get what he was, he was giving mixed signals. But I didn't scream. For him, he would do anything now to make me scream.
Uh-huh.
And I think it's difficult for people to understand that anybody would go to such lengths to make an 8-9-year-old sex slave scream, a child scream. But Van den Boeinans, anyway, he didn't see a child in me or any other child. He didn't see a child. And these pedophiles, they don't see children when they're projecting. They just see, they're always projecting. They don't see a child. They don't see innocence. They don't.
That's important.
They don't even believe in innocence. So for them, children are just little people. And Van den Boeinans, when he beat me up and I didn't scream, he had to win. Like, that was all that mattered to him, because if he didn't win, he was going to maybe start to feel what was underneath all of that winning and that bravado and that drama and having to be on top and having to be the big guy, because he was, of course, weak underneath it. So he must have ordered these bugs. They were not local. They were not native.
Not Belgian bugs.
No, they were about this big. They were dark brown, blackish, and they had pincers. And they were pinching me. So on a different day, weeks later, my mother dropped me off at this house in the middle of the day, kept me home from school for that.
That was bad news. I read in your book when you were kept home from school, that was bad news.
Yes. So she dropped me off there, and it was Nihoul who opened the door. So basically Van den Boeinans had gotten Nihoul, and who knows, maybe he had ordered, maybe Van den Boei had to use tax money to pay for these bugs. You don't know what they do. But that's what he was concerned with. That's what he had to do. And he had a box full. I didn't know what was in the box.
Yeah, so describe, they took you to his name in the book is Polo.
Polo, that's what I called him.
Okay, Polo and Nihoul took you to the basement.
Yeah.
A basement, we don't know where. That was a coal shed.
Yes.
And you couldn't get out. It was like a U-shaped, very small coal shed in the dark.
Yes.
And they put you there, and you didn't know what was going to happen, but you heard the box. And I can only imagine when the box is not open yet.
No, I thought I was going to die. And I knew that it was...
I read it and I thought it were going to be rats.
Well, that would have worked too.
But it were not rats, they were bugs.
They were bugs. There were hundreds, if not thousands, of bugs. There was a box full of those. And he threw it quickly at me. Nihul had to do it. Not the VDB, he wasn't going to get his hands dirty. Nihul did it. Then threw the box too, because he got really scared, clearly.
to get a bite by a bug, yeah.
Yeah. They didn't want to get a bite. And I screamed.
You did scream?
Yes.
So they won?
So he won. But I screamed, but very quickly I crouched down, and so they were in my hair, and I was naked, so they were biting me all over. Very quickly, I felt a presence, which I felt quite often. Benign, loving presence that calmed me down. And then this time there was some insight. And the insight was that the bugs are not the monster. They're just natural creatures. They're scared. They're out of their habitat. And as I relaxed, it seemed like I couldn't really feel the bite so much anymore. But they left. They were bored. I wasn't entertaining anymore.
Nihul and Polo left.
Yeah.
The bugs
they scattered.
Sought their way, yeah.
Yeah.
That is what I admire so much in you, that you, even in those situations, you still see the love. Like, oh, these bugs, what a pity for them. They have been in a box for...
But it wasn't me. Again, it felt very clearly, it was very clear to me that presence was not me.
Okay.
Maybe you can say the greater self, but it felt like a different presence, very loving, but mostly benign. For me, very loving, who knows, that could be sexual, benign. A presence that was not scary, a presence that wanted the best for me.
They wanted to help you.
Yes. And that would give, and I would get these insights, but I didn't feel that I got that for myself.
Sorry. I couldn't have done that. I would have killed him. I would have run to them, kicked him in the balls, and just killed him right away.
You don't know.
I would have. I think I would have. I don't know. I don't know.
The thing is that when you're a child, you're powerless.
Are you?
Well,
I have always.
Yeah, you're powerless, physically powerless. They're much bigger than you. So the thing is, it's this situation that I was in, and that many children are in, is this utter powerlessness. In the face of the physical, we're powerless.
Okay.
But in those situations, more than you think, and I speak with survivors all the time, there is a presence that comes to our aid. There is. Oh, you can never look at something from the outside and know exactly what it is. Because this is the darkest of circumstances, and I cannot tell you I don't know nicer people than these other survivors.
Yeah, okay, I can imagine that. But I think, yeah, you can feel physical weakness and be afraid to use the physical force you dispose of. But I don't think that would have been... Let's say that I was 8 years old standing there, living what you have lived. I think it's the psychology. It's they first break you. They first steal your innocence. I think that is where it starts. So they try, but for instance, with the rabbits, that is one of the first things in the programmation. Can you explain a bit about that? Because I think that was a significant way to try. What they want to rob from you is your innocence. I think. And that's where it starts, doesn't it?
Well, that happens the first time you get raped.
Yes, and the rabbits, was that before that or after that?
Much later.
Okay.
The first time I was raped was by my mother in infancy.
Your mother raped you?
Yeah, I mean, it was, molestation, yeah. And I had been molested also by another family member. So, by an uncle, my mother's brother. So, the children that came to the network were usually already sexually abused. And that's when your innocence gets stolen. So that happened with most of us, those children. That happened very early in life.
So the network is not a network of body snatchers, let's say. The mothers or the fathers bring the children to the network.
Yes, so Dutroux was actually an exception. Most children would not get kidnapped in the Belgian network. Most children were being indoctrinated who came from poor families, incestuous families that were infiltrated by pimps. And then the pimps took the children to the network and brought them back so they would go to school during the week, like me, so they didn't have to keep them. It's much smarter for them to have...
They didn't have the money to keep them, so during the week they're away. And did your mother...
During the week they were living at home and going to school.
But in the weekends they were away. Yeah.
And in the weekends they were being raped by people in the network.
And was your mother paid for that?
Yes.
Okay. Mm. But your father made enough money not to have to...
Yes, my mother didn't need to do that for money, but nobody needs to do that for money. Not in the Western world, at least. I don't know. I don't want to speak for everybody. But certainly, in a family that's already incestuous, it's not really that big a leap.
Yeah, I get that.
And also the way that the pimps that they worked was not necessarily so clear. Like they would maybe take the children first and then give money. You know, like there would be money exchanged for sure.
But that's not the prime motivation.
But it's not like they have a contract and they say, now you give me a child and we're raped, we're going to take her. It's not that clear. The people are just being led and they're already incest perpetrators or survivors that are blind, and then there's the dissociation, the denial, and it just works well together. My mother was in denial, but she also got paid.
Yeah, and another thing that struck me in the book, well, it's very related, and it's that, that your mother brought you to these weekends, okay, in denial, but it's a culture. It's like your cleaning lady was, were you a wealthy family at home? Because a cleaning lady...
Well, we were not poor.
You were not poor.
We were like middle class, but a little above.
Higher middle class.
Yeah.
So going towards...
higher middle class in a small village, whatever that means. We were never part of the real higher middle class, which is sort of getting close to the of the upper middle class. We're never upper middle class. My parents both came from poor families, and they both made their way up. I mean, my stepfather made his way up, and he was very proud of the money, and he wanted to show the money, and he, no taste, and
typical.
And my mother too was just all about, standing, status. She loved the status, and she loved, 5-year-old, but a 5-year-old who's really proud,
Yeah, she couldn't shut up. She's always bragging. And feeling close to that elite while never being part of it.
Exactly.
That's the pattern you see often.
But the elite, they're a different breed.
Yeah. And so you have lower class, poor people, then you have middle class, then you have upper middle class, but they're still bourgeois. But then you go to a level where there are, I would call them pseudo-aristocrats. They're not real aristocrats, because most aristocratic families in Belgium, for instance, have bought their titles.
Right. So
200 years ago, but they have bought their...
Right, and in the beginning, they also bought their titles. Or the Knights Templars or the Knight Templars or whatever, how did they get their titles? It's always the most brutal that got the titles, wasn't it?
Yeah, well, I do think that there's a kind of aristocracy. It just means in Greek, aristes, the best.
Yeah, right.
The best.
I mean,
But
yeah, the
now
best.
we don't have aristocracy anymore. We do have aristocracy, but without title.
Well, there's a distinct sickness of what I think of as aristocracy.
Okay. Sickness.
Sickness, and that includes the royalty, of course.
Yeah.
That they're the top of the aristocracy, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And then the others with titles, with, at least titles that are at least hundreds of years old and so forth. And those people.
That's nothing. In aristocracy, 100 years is nothing.
Okay.
So that's I want to defend the idea that it is possible to have a truly organically grown aristocracy coming from the people. Just by having good families, well-educated, taking responsibility in society. That is, for me, aristocracy.
I get it.
Yeah.
No, what is nobility? I mean, I think of that as nobility, yes. When your motives are noble always, versus all the lies that we're... Okay, no. All right, well, I use the word aristocracy because we know what we mean generally, right?
Okay, yeah. So what we now consider aristocracy, I always had the feeling, I have had contacts with people from aristocracy, between brackets, and I always felt this, they're so cold, they're not real people, they're like cardboard figures, playing a role, not being real. And that was my intuition. And now that I read in your story that one of the biggest insights for me was that I always thought of this sex abuse as they're going to snatch children, make sex slaves into them, and then the parents stay behind not knowing what happened to their child. But that's not the way it goes. It comes from incestuous families who actually want to punish their child or whatever. And especially in aristocracy, between brackets, that is just the culture. Because there was one count who...
That's right.
He...
brought their own children. And, he wasn't the only one.
But just for the viewers who haven't had time to read the book, you should all read the book, by the way. Buy it, support Anneke. I will try to find a publisher for you in Dutch. We should. This story has to go global. But you call him with a pseudonym Count Doriac, and his wife. And her daughter was a friend of yours, Florence, and you were protected by Patrick against the likes of Nihul. And you once said to her, I thought I was very stupid, by the way, to say to her, we didn't even have sex. We didn't even have sex. So Florence, she was very frustrated with you because you had to protect her and she didn't.
Gotcha.
And then she visibly let herself be raped by as many men as possible who were standing in line, watching you with her eyes on you, like, this is what you should do. And then the last guy in the row was her own father, And how you describe it, you're a very good writer, by the way. I want to compliment you with that. It's a page turner. And the father looked at the other men who had gone before him, and he looked at the other men saying, you might have fucked my daughter, sorry, pardon my language, but I am the only one who has this special relationship with her because she is my biological daughter. So the craziness of that,
Well, it was all about getting away with it. Like, he was all high, and he actually was transformed in that moment. And the only time I ever saw him not being stuck up, he was completely relaxed, completely high. It's about getting away with. A lot of the people in that class, they get off on getting away with anything, right? So this was not just incest that he got away with. He got away with it in public.
In public, before everybody. Yeah. And they get away with much more because the Moroccan guy, the Moroccan boy, not a guy, a boy. What was he, 5?
12.
Or 12? And the psychology of your interaction, that if you start liking another, I have to say victim or
child,
right? they will use that against you because if they know that you like the boy will die sooner.
Or they'll use it against us.
Or use it against you. So you had the wit, and that's very smart, to give him a look like you're a nobody. And in his eyes, you saw that damn, we're in hell here, and you're not even being, you're not even showing solidarity. And then later on, they hunted the boy. Could you elaborate anything about that? Because I've heard legends about the Ninth Circle and all that stuff. I don't know if you heard about that.
Well, hunts, right?
Hunts.
Children.
Hunting, like
hunting
just
children.
Game hunting. Yeah.
So I did witness that once. And because I was under Patrick Halmers's protection at that time, that's to say, I don't want to make it sound like I was protected all the time by him, you know. Let's just, like, in brackets, say that he protected me at first, before he started the heavy-duty abuse. But at that time, he protected me and took me inside the castle, which is, by the way, the Kattenhof in near Brasschaat, Schravenwezel. And after a very strange night, where Nihul was there, was sort of the middle figure. Only aristocrats came, children that I'd never seen before, immigrant children that I'd never seen before, and this boy was one of them.
Imported.
Immigrant children. So
yeah, but I mean,
I don't know if they were imported or not,
yeah.
but at the time there were a lot of immigrant workers here from Morocco.
70s.
70s, yeah. And Turkey. So I don't know if they had been kidnapped. I don't know. They might have been, they clearly came from, immigrant families. Maybe, again, I don't know how they got there. But the only time I saw children of color, personally. And then Patrick took me inside. So there was a very strange situation anyway. There were these aristocrats, only aristocratic men, and then there were these children of color, and they were sitting, and these men were choosing children, but some of these men just left afterwards and left the children there. Mm. I didn't know what was going on. It was just very strange. The next morning, I woke up to a gunshot, and indeed, yeah, that 12-year-old boy that I had seen, I saw him running, and it was in the distance, but I recognized him. I saw one hunter only, and then I saw that boy, and I saw him run and get shot and fall.
In the back.
In the back, and fall, and he just didn't get up anymore.
And what did the hunter do? Came to the body or just went away, or?
I only saw this body of this boy lying there, expecting he was going to get up, and he just didn't.
And then the reaction of Patrick to that, he just lighted a cigarette and...
Yep. Didn't care.
So that happened in Brasschaat?
Yeah, Schravenwezel.
Schravenwezel, yes, Antwerp. Yeah. So... And, another escape route for people, because I do not want to leave them any escape, would be, that was in the 70s. Well,
look at the aristocrats. You're saying, how many years does that go back? So this was just aristocrats, by the way.
Yeah.
And talking about the culture of these aristocrats bringing their own children to the network, having their children raped by other men, indoctrinating them into this culture of incest and sexual abuse. This is the culture. That it's okay in that culture. So in those circles, I think children are objectified and dehumanized from day one. And it's like they don't have a chance. And then they become adults. And usually, when the family has power or name or whatever, it's much harder to step away. Like for me, yeah, I got screwed with my inheritance, but I was disowned by my father and my stepfather as much as one can. But it's not that big a deal in a way, You'll
be a best-selling author. We'll make that happen.
Well, it's still difficult, by the way, to deal with that much trauma and then have to make a living and all of that. But that's a different thing. Let's just say that my family, the connection to my family and the need to be part of that family is, the pressure is much
higher.
Lesser,
yeah.
In my case. But if you're from an aristocratic family, say maybe a famous family, say maybe a very wealthy family, the ties to your family are multiple, and they, just like they manipulate everybody, and those who want the influence and are, busy with the power and trying to control the world from behind the scenes, aristocratic families often use their money and their name and their power to make sure that the children will all follow in line. That's to say, never speak up. You don't, maybe they don't even have to participate, but they cannot speak out because they will kill their own if they have to. Because they have no qualms. Most of them, they're so dead inside, detached. They have no qualms. It's all about protecting those lies.
And also, those lies are the source of their power. Because they control other people through the lies.
Yeah.
I always said to my subscribers, politics is the trade in secrets.
Yeah. Oh, that's a good one.
I know. I'm good at one-liners. That's what I do.
That's a good one.
Because in Belgian politics also, you see impossible transfers from one party to another. And it's very simple. The guy brings a lot of secrets that they can blackmail the other party with. If you have been into a political party for 15 years, you know a lot of secrets. Then you could go from a classical liberal party to a socialist party, and everybody would wonder, has your ideology changed? No, you bring a lot of secrets, you get a good position, and then you use those secrets in the new party to blackmail the other party.
Right.
That's how it works, and that is when I've been in politics, but I was miserable at it. So that speaks for me.
Yeah.
But that is how it works, and then the abuse. But I have gained a new insight now. I thought that the abuse was functional to control other politicians, because if you know a secret about another politician, you own him. But it's not even that. That is a side effect that is beneficial for them, but it comes from deep hurt inside. It comes from...
Well, it's both.
It's both.
It is a system of blackmail, and child abuse is used for the blackmail purposes. And in the first years, so from 6 to 9, I was disposable. So I was a child whose life had no value.
Okay.
And so I was put in horrendous situation where I didn't know if I was going to live at all. But I was also given men that pretended to be newcomers. Uh-huh. And they were, in the sense that it was their first time with a very young child.
Okay.
Now, they had already been indoctrinated in this network because it's a club, right? It's an exclusive club. That's really what it is. So if you want to belong, you got to pay a price.
Oh.
Right?
Okay. In money or in doing stuff?
Doing stuff.
Yeah. And you didn't want to pay the price for the big shot, the international big shot.
Right. That's a different. Yes,
we'll get there. We'll get there. Continue.
But basically, these men had already given up a lot of their principles, or they'd already had been corrupted. They'd already seen things. They'd already probably been with a young teenager that maybe they had said that she was 16 or 18 or whatever, and then told him later that it was younger. And so now he's with a 6-year-old child. Now, I don't think that someone who wasn't abused as a child
could do that.
But these men were, and they also wanted to escape their pain. And so this is like the perfect channel. It's like being given to you as a channel to escape all your pain. Like, here you go. You can, dump it dump your pain and climb at the same time.
That I don't understand. Dump your pain. So I abuse another child because I have been abused. In that moment, I am free of my... is that the thing?
Yeah, that's the high. So that's the psychological end of it. There's the blackmail part of it, in the way that this is exploited and used for blackmailing purposes, because these men were secretly being filmed or photographed at the time with me. But I had to make them feel comfortable about it. And they let me know that this was their first time. You know, they were so fragile, poor little man. Yeah. And so there's a blackmailing aspect of it, so that they owned by Van den Boeynants in Belgium. Van den Boeynants was the big shot,
owned and
big
controlled.
boss.
I thought of opening a nightclub just with prostitutes to trap politicians, so that I could say that they have to lower taxes. I think that's a bad plan. It's pretty much the same, isn't it?
Yes, it wouldn't work though, because it doesn't mean anything anymore, right?
That's what I talked about with the desensitization of the public. They wouldn't care, but with children, they do care.
With children, hopefully they, yes.
I think they
There's
will.
a lot of pressure, coming at us to normalize pedophilia.
Oh yes.
From the same people again. But psychologically, the dumping, let's say, is when you've been abused as a child, the moment that you're abused, you're getting this load on you. There's a psychic load a psychic burden that you have to accept. You have no choice. You feel completely powerless. You feel helpless. You're getting whatever message this person wants you to feel like, you're receiving this lie, whether it's I'm bad, I'm dirty, I'm unworthy of being loved, or all of them. You're receiving that message psychically. You're getting shame. You're taking on all this shame because you must deserve it, otherwise it wouldn't happen to you. So that's how children think, and that's natural. So for the abuser in that moment, doing directly what was done to them as children is an extremely powerful release, that they get high, and they get, for 1 second, all of their load is off them.
Really? I find that
for that moment. It's like any addiction, where you get a relief and a release for a short moment, and you get very, very high. They got very high, and their release was an incredible high, but then, and it's because it's this direct repetition from the position in power. They were on the side of powerlessness when they were little children. Now they're in the place of the power. There's no healing, so it's a direct repetition, and it's but from the position of power, so they experience freedom.
Okay.
Freedom from their burden.
It's like, okay, I will try to paraphrase it and just say if I'm right or not. So you have this psychic load coming into you as being helpless and filthy and whatever, and this weight is carried for years, and it's like putting a ball underwater, let's say, and the deeper you push it. And then at some point where you can do the opposite, the counter force, then the ball goes out of the water. Is that a good image?
Fantastic.
Is that a good image?
Love it.
Yeah. So, okay, now I understand. Okay. That makes them patience, actually. If we are very loving. So if I meet Nihul in purgatory, what should I do?
Well, he's going to need a lot of help.
I think he will be in the lower rung. I
don't think you're going to meet him. Because vibrationally, what happens? Vibrationally, you are going to be with those of your vibration. I don't think Nihul is going to be on your vibrational level. I don't think you're going to meet.
I don't think so, but I'm not a saint.
And I think that when you have those very low vibrations, when you have those very low attractions, very earthly, but lower than earth attractions, I do think that is the description of hell, is that he's going to be pining without a body, without a physical body. He's going to be pining for physical things, and I do believe that might create some anguish or pain.
Would those be demons then in the afterlife that come and haunt?
Well, it's not like there's no demons right here that come in these satanic rituals or any kind of very dark act. Demons instantly usurp the host and come through. And that I've definitely seen manifestations of people contorted in ways that this is not a human being anymore. There's something else there.
Possessing them.
For a moment, yeah. For the moment that they do the act. They get taken over by an entity that wants that needs that feeds off it.
The Gnostics call them the Archonten.
All right.
Yeah, there are many names for them, but then we could also understand why, purely on a political level, they want to dehumanize people and shock the hell out of us with all kinds of the fear-mongering, basically, so that the entities could feed of that fear.
That's true.
Because
that is true.
The scene with Nihul coming out with the plate, I visualize it so clearly in my mind. And the moment he knows that there is a moment that those 10 children will realize that it is also a child, and then the fear that comes out, I almost visualize that the fear that comes out, he nourishes himself with that fear, I imagine.
Weirdly, normally I would say absolutely yes, but weirdly with Nihul,
it's too stupid.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had that impression. I saw interviews with him. I thought, what a stupid prick you are, man. And
he wasn't a sadist in those ways, Van den Boeynants, absolutely. He was a real sadist. But Nihul, I didn't get the feeling that he was doing it for the effect on the children. I felt more that he was trying to imitate Van den Boeynants.
How sad, yeah.
But possessed, surely. I never saw him abuse a child, Nihul. Not that he didn't. He was obviously, we know from the Dutroux case that he was involved with other tortures. Where he tortured other children to death, and that was witnessed by Regina Louf also.
Yeah. Yeah, and you were practically tortured to death on the, how do you call that in English? A cab block.
Butcher.
The butcher
block.
table, a butcher block. You were face down? No, face...
Well, I started face up and then I was turned around.
Yeah. And then they went at your skin. But the thing that struck me is that the butcher block was actually black of the blood of your predecessors.
Well, it was an old butcher's block, so it was black. It could have been used for many animals first, because Van den Boeynants, as I later found out,
he was a butcher.
Started out as a butcher.
This is a Hollywood script movie, isn't it?
I mean, it's crazy.
Yeah, and
he started out as a butcher. It was his house.
Yeah.
And there was a secret room with a huge old butcher's block. I mean, it's a butcher's table. I'm not sure what you'd say.
Yeah. And below the table there was like this...
a crate.
A crate with all kinds of tools to torture.
Yeah.
And what did they use on you? The fish hooks?
A fish hook, nails, a penknife, scissors, apple core.
For the apple, yeah.
And then a band of nails. It was like a belt full of nails sticking up. Put it
on
around.
your yeah.
Household articles, basically.
Yeah, that's also such a strange irony that things that could be used in a loving way, like peeling an apple, is used to peel your skin.
Not peeling an apple, coring an apple.
What's the difference? Coring, what is that? Getting the core out of an apple.
You get the core out. So you have like a sort of a blunt knife with a shape of a... Yeah, I have those shapes on my legs.
Yeah, I saw in the book that you have images, photos actually, of the
scars.
Of the scars, so that nobody could deny that you are
Well, you can see them in person. Some.
But it's more than 40 years ago, so many have
Faded. Somewhat, yeah, but they're still there.
On your arms, you can see the cigarette. I think the cigarette.
No, the cigarette burn actually is this. This here is a cigarette burn. It looks like a line, but if I make my arm like this, the way I had it, can you see it? The way I had it?
Yeah.
The way he twisted my arm?
Yeah.
Then it's a circle.
Uh-huh. Yeah, they have to twist your arm to be able to do it. Yeah. Sick fucks, man. It's just, you know.
And it's Nihul who led the torture, but he was also indoctrinating other
the other children how to do it, on how to do it.
Who had to torture me. So this is how they really take your innocence. Like, they start by raping you, but then I think as long as you're a victim in a way, you can hold on to your innocence, you know? But then they make you do things. And of course, you're a victim being made to do things.
Yes, it must be very confusing for the identity also.
Well, they make you do things, so they made those children torture me, which was supposed to be to death. And then they make the children kill.
They make the children kill. And that's the function of the rabbits, to learn how to kill first. Yeah, and at the end of the book, you have had to kill. They made you kill.
And the training for killing. So when I met the international networker, I was sent to Germany. Actually, Regina Luff was also sent to Germany later. But in my time, from 69 to 74, it was not Van den Boeynants himself who sent me to Germany, but it was Van den Boeynants who drove me to Germany to be mind control trained for the international guy. So he probably got some information afterwards, and he started sending children there to be mind controlled as well later. But I was trained there. So it's basically children are tortured, and the reason for the torture is to create trauma, to induce trauma, to get the child in the fight, flight mode, fight, flight, freeze, collapse mode, so that all the brain activity reduces to this brainstem and the reptilian brain, so that you get into your instinctual self, where you can hear and see and smell, and your senses are completely heightened. And then they create new personalities from those. They train you very specifically and very scientifically correct.
Yeah, they have a lot of knowledge on how the psyche works.
Yeah. In order to do that, because I was impressed myself at age 9 at how effective this training was, because then they use so they traumatize you, so you get in this state, instinctive state, that unleashes special powers from, survival. Mm-hmm. And then they direct that
to a partition,
to certain tasks.
So sex slave would be... So
as a sex slave, I was trained. I wasn't sexually abused. I was strapped to a chair, and my eyes were pried open with metal clasps, and I was made to watch movies.
Porn movies.
Not just porn. I was shown the face of a man, and then I saw that man engaging in some perversity. And then another man, another perversity. Everything. And then I was shown the face of a man, and I was told, what's his perversity?
You were trained to recognize
And
what...
then the first time, I didn't know. So then I was drowned or suffocated in another way to become unconscious, which was punishment, but it was also part of the training to unlock the psychic abilities from going into a near-death experience and connecting intuitively more with...
Okay, without judging, you felt the guy, you felt... Yeah, okay.
Yeah, so then I had to guess what their perversities were based on their face. And I can't say exactly what it is in someone's face because it might have to do with the psychic capacities as well, but there are certain traits that show you exactly what a man wants sexually. So if someone has a perversity sexually, I often see it, unfortunately. I don't focus on this, but I still see it. And I know exactly what they like, or I can tell if somebody is a killer, or, you know. And that was the first week or so that I was forced to watch these films and give those answers and then get punished and everything. And it was incredible to me how quickly I learned to discern what men want sexually. And this is sometimes, apart from what they think they want or say they want, I had to do what they really wanted. Do you see?
No. Repeat that. Apart from
the men, maybe, if I can tell from somebody's face what they want sexually, if I get this man as a client, as a child sex slave, they might say they want one thing, but I know they really want something else.
Yeah. Okay.
And then the following week, I had to detect men's weaknesses. Same method. And of course, weaknesses is vulnerabilities. So then I had to be able, as a spy, because I was supposed to be a spy for this, international player, the big shot, yeah. And as a spy, I was also trained the same way to see a man's weakness is really his vulnerability. That's to say, it's his greatest wound. So I was trained to spot a man's vulnerability, his wound, and then to come in as a nurturing mother, little mother, to make him feel better, which then would make him fall in love with me and think that I'm his soulmate or his dream girl. Or as a child, I'm the dream girl. As an adult, I'm the soulmate. And then that was reinforced with psychic training, where I was put in a sense deprivation tank for days, I think, long time.
You don't know what time it is, yeah?
That if I moved too much, I would drown because it was deep enough that I couldn't fall asleep. So I had to stay awake.
So sense deprivation and sleep deprivation at the same time.
Yeah, in salt water. And I don't know if you know this, but if you are weightless, your psychic ability actually increases.
Aha.
And then I was given a task. The first part, I was told to describe what I'm feeling in my body. And then there was somebody, I don't know who was clearly imagining doing things to me. And I would describe what they were.
So,
because I felt it in my body.
Like morphic resonance stuff, like Rupert Sheldrake stuff, that you can sense what they are imagining?
Yeah. And I would feel it in my body, and I would describe what it was. And then the second part of it was that I was shown a photo of a man, and I had to enter into his body and mind psychically and manipulate him, direct him to think of me. So I had to enter into him, into his psyche, and his thoughts, and then direct him to keep thinking of me, to have my image, to think I'm the most amazing, whatever, most beautiful girl he's ever seen, and then so basically add my voice and urgency to his, to manipulate him, to have him fall in love with me.
That's really psychic. That's really almost magic, isn't it?
Well, that's the occult, isn't it? It's to use our natural psychic abilities and powers in order to have nefarious goals.
Wow. Wow. You don't describe that in a book either.
No.
You should write another one.
I will. And the last part, and why we had this conversation about the mind control, was that I was trained to kill there.
Yes.
And I want to describe how that training started, because I think it's very easy. It's obviously a very difficult thing to talk about.
And I appreciate you willing to talk about it. I really do. So take all the time you need.
Thank you. As I do feel that it's important that people hear this. And I don't think a lot of people get to this. And I was lucky that I was rescued as a child. And so I'm speaking from experiences of when I was a child, and I was obviously forced to do this. But the first thing that happened is after the training in the chair, and by the way, in between, I was also, this is not everything that happened there. Much more happened in terms of the mind control. But after that was done, I got a break. And I got to choose a puppy. And I chose the quietest puppy from the litter.
I feel you coming.
Yes. Yes. Well, I thought it was a reward. And I chose the quietest puppy, and I was told I made a good choice, and I didn't really understand that comment. And I had this puppy for 2 days with me. After 2 days, I was given a dagger and told to kill it. So I said no. I refused, right? So the handlers, this was not Hans Harmsen himself, this was the handlers. They took the puppy and they started to torture it.
Before your eyes. And that was your punishment for not killing it.
That was my fault, because I should kill it. And everything they did to it was my fault, because I was disobedient. So by the time that I did kill the puppy, it was a mercy killing. And from then on, every killing was a mercy killing. And now I want to say something that I've never said before publicly. Hans Harmsen, who was in charge of this place, was the head of the Planned Parenthood of Pro Familia in Germany. I was made to train on what were basically extremely small babies that were alive.
It's good that we went to pray earlier, because this is...
Every killing was a mercy killing. I had to do it. If I don't do it, it'll be worse for the victim.
I think you did the right thing. As strange as that may seem.
No choice.
The best choice given the circumstances.
And I was quick because I wanted it to be quick. And then I was told that I was really good at it. And praised for being a good killer. Thank you.
It's very important what you are doing right now.
Yes, and I've never named Hans Harmsen before. I think it is significant who he was.
Planned Parenthood.
Yeah.
A euphemism, I would say.
Well, on that subject, I only want to say this. That subject, the one thing no one ever mentions is that when a woman makes that decision, she is not given a release form of what happens to the fetus. And I think it's really important. It doesn't matter what your opinion is, but I think it is really important that women know what happens to their fetus after it's aborted.
And what happens?
This was the doctor that was in charge of Planned Parenthood. The fetus, the babies that I had to kill, in this case, were probably aborted fetuses. They were alive.
They were alive after birth.
But that happens. When you have a late abortion, why would it be dead? It's alive inside the mother's stomach.
Okay.
Now,
Yeah.
but that's one thing that can happen. But what about everything else that can happen?
I have no idea. What organs, harvesting organs?
Anything. The mother should know what happens to her baby. She should have the right to take it home or whatever, have a funeral. It's not like, nobody talks about that. I think it's important to talk about. And I think that, maybe it's important that women know if the baby's alive.
Well, of course. I had no idea that.
Oh, yeah.
For me, abortion is killing the child in the womb, and there are several techniques to do it, and then the parts come out. That is how I always imagined abortions to be. But you are telling me that I have not formed my opinion, obviously, on that.
That's all I want to say.
Yeah.
Really important just to think about that. And, it's a difficult enough decision, but you also should have some control. This is your baby, it's your fetus, whatever you want to call it, but you should know what happens afterwards.
And you think that Planned Parenthood is like this network of trafficking live aborted?
I have no idea. I don't
feel
want to utter opinions.
Yeah.
Because I think I have testimony, first-person testimony. That's important. I don't think my opinion is that important.
Okay.
I don't know.
Yeah, that's wise. I'm maybe too opinionated. I am. Wow. That's just something. Have we gone over everything? I'm sure we haven't. But
Well, you talked earlier, and this is, again, not easy, but you talked about the rabbits, and maybe the audience doesn't know what you were trying to say there.
it's a scene from the book. I say scene as if it is a movie, but it's a horror movie, actually.
Well, I hope that my insights make it not a horror movie. I hope that there's enough in there that I've learned from healing that it is actually not a horror movie. I hope not.
Well, no, I have expressed myself wrongly. It's actually, it's very hopeful to see that somebody who has been through what you have been through, eating the flesh of another child, having to kill, like you had to eat the feces of another guy, that seems like trivial now. It isn't, but you know what I mean. You know, in the gradation of everything, it's not trivial. Of course, it isn't. I didn't want to say that, but in the degree of all those.
Oh, it's a lot. It's a lot of extreme abuse. I mean, that's what it is. It's like a person could have a trauma that affects their entire life, and that they could have trouble healing from for their entire life. And I and other survivors of this extreme abuse have had at least 50 of these kinds of events, traumatic events, happen to ourselves.
And here you are. So if there would be an audience here, I would ask to applaud.
Ah.
I'm sure people are applauding right now in their homes when they see the video, and they should. I'm at loss for words at this moment. I don't. I have no more questions. Actually, well, perhaps about that healing. Let's make a summary about evil.
Let's talk about healing.
Yeah.
We can talk about evil, and let's also talk about healing and the light.
And maybe
the transformation. And
how did you do it? How do you start? How do you start? Where do you start after all that?
Well, the mind control has a lot of effects. It does bring out your special powers. Like they first of all, I was evaluated. The first thing that happened, so I told you I was disposable the first 3 years. Then this big shot took an interest, this international big shot, he was not Belgian, took an interest in me. The first thing that he had done is that my blood was taken.
Your blood was taken.
And apparently, another survivor has told me that they must have found out that I am from one of those bloodlines through my father's side.
Okay.
By the way, my father's father was a Freemason. My father told me that.
You know what strikes me? The science behind it. Like, they know perfectly on how to fragment the psyche. You know, we talked in the break about the work of Fritz Springmeier, the big book. I can recommend it to anybody interested in the subject. How to create an undetectable mind-controlled slave.
Yeah. It's a very good
science. So the occult knowledge on how to program somebody. If anybody would doubt, like, conspiracy theories or anything, you know, I want to separate those subjects, but people are not even aware of the possibilities.
Oh no, it's a huge
it's science,
the occult science, and these people are extremely adept and use their resources again, you know, and our resources too that go to them for this. So they found out that I was from, but essentially, they separate people between the bloodlines and the rest. And so if you're from a bloodline, you can become one of them.
Uh-huh.
So in a way, he thought it was an honor for me to go through the mind control training.
And he didn't understand that. Yeah, I get
because
that.
I was told I would have never been trained that way to become like a starlet if I hadn't been from a bloodline. So I was disposable. I was worth nothing. They find out that I'm from a bloodline. They're like, yay, she's from a bloodline. I don't know what separates it, but that's to say that they justify their superiority. And of course, once you're superior, you can justify anything. Once you think you're superior to another human being, you can do anything to them.
Let's get to those bloodlines. We will talk about the healing as well, but that interests me a lot because there are several investigators who have traced those bloodlines back to Babylon and Egypt and all of that. Do you have any knowledge about that?
No, I don't. All I know is that I just recently realized that that's what happened. Mm-hmm. And I had no idea.
I do, actually. I have studied that.
Okay. But I knew that they were happy with the results, and I thought it was because it was Aryan, but really it must be that it's the bloodlines. So anyway, that's a belief that they carry. And then...
they call them the black nobility.
Okay. So then I was, made special then, and then trained to be this starlet and everything, so that I could be a better spy. I was only going to be made the star so that I would have the platform where the most powerful men in the world would take an interest in me, so that I could then spy on them for this international big shot. That was the point. And I started to tell you this, because we were going to start talking about the light, and we were talking about, we were going to start to talk about the light and the other, I was supposed to be one of theirs. I was supposed to become one of theirs. And I think because I was loved in childhood, in my early childhood, I couldn't go through with it, basically. Or you
had reference. You had some reference.
Yes.
Springmeier talks about torturing the baby in the womb, so starting as early as possible, so that there is no reference.
That's right.
It's very important.
That is done, and I speak to survivors who have had this happen to them. So, I was saying, they evaluate you for your special powers.
Ah.
So whatever your talent is, they work with you there.
Wow.
So the way in which they develop your special powers, so it's occult, because it's using natural talent in order to exploit it.
Yeah.
They enhance it, but it's all for their nefarious purposes. So they want to create these superhumans, but to be robotic slaves for them.
Yeah.
And they themselves are the biggest slaves serving Satan. But
I want to talk about that later.
Okay, so I was trained based on my natural abilities, and then healing from it. Yeah. So and then my integrity was still somewhat intact. That I said, no, I'm not going along. I'm not becoming part of your club, even though I had been promised a very nice life. And it was extremely appealing.
That's what the devil does, doesn't he?
Yes. But at 9 years old, I knew that it wasn't worth it.
Impressive.
Yes, well, I didn't want to pay the price.
And what was the price?
Killing.
But at that age, had you killed already or not?
I had been trained.
With
that was the first thing they did.
Yeah.
That training. But that didn't end there. I killed. But I had an induction. What was to be my induction? It was a year of training back and forth. I was both taken back to Germany for more stuff. I was also sent to Germany to spend time with a politician there. Weekends. Learn German from him. I mean, I already knew a little bit from the place. I was sent to France to have that trainings for several weeks underground with the entourage. That was very strange. I was naked that whole time because I had to learn. I was worshipped and coddled, and I call it my narcissist training. But I was naked the whole time because I had to learn that my body was not, I was 9, but my body wasn't mine, but I was the lucky owner of it, and to be worshipped as a goddess, or as an object. And I had to be comfortable with my body being worshipped like that. So that's why I had to be naked the whole time. And it does, you do get, it's strange, but 2 weeks being
adored and lifted, and photographs and everything, but it was all in good taste. So there was nothing creepy in that sense. They weren't creepy people at all. They were mind control slaves for sure that were going to remain my entourage. And so there was a lot happening in that year, and eventually that was all preparing to be inducted. What is inducted? I don't know the word.
Well, so they have the Satanic cult, yes? And at age 9 or 10, it was about a year later, I was supposed to become part of them. And I was married to this Big shot.
You were
Yeah.
married to him.
Married, yeah.
Where?
In some ceremony.
Okay,
yeah.
yeah, I get that. Not officially, but...
In a satanic ceremony, married to him.
And what does that look like, such a ceremony? How do they marry you? Through sex, I guess.
Yeah, sex and, there were a lot of people there. And those people, I've recognized many of them.
Wow.
They were famous at the time. So they were sort of like 1972.
The who's who.
The who's who. Yeah, and others who are players on the stage today.
Still?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. They're well organized. And so the marriage was more of a small part, and then I was going to be inducted. And for that, it was like a week long, or I don't know, very long. I was also, obviously, I belonged to him, right? So I was sleeping with other men. I was famous men. I was reporting what they wanted sexually or reporting their weakness. I was doing my work. It's not like this was like, but that was going to be my life, the dark side of my life. And then the
it's a narcissism.
The upside of my life was going to be the great comfort, the respect.
Famous.
The famous, that was all set up. The yacht, the best apartment in Paris, the best house in the Côte d'Azur, all of it was going to be mine.
Material advantages in compensation and in brackets for your spiritual,
to
slavery.
make up for the slavery, also when earth has to become paradise for them because they have only earth.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And then you have to create paradise on earth, and you have to do it at everyone else's expense.
Yeah, that's the great contradiction, that they try to create paradise here and make hell out of this world.
Yes, exactly.
They actually want to bring hell here. It's my impression.
Well, they want to bring it for everybody else while escaping it and getting away with it. That's what they want.
But
They always want to get away with what they do. So they're trying to create heaven for themselves while they're turning this place into hell.
But is it really heaven? Because they must have cognitive dissonance like hell,
Yes, they do. And they also think of themselves as good. That's why they say that good is bad.
Elaborate on that. I'm very interested in that. Because the first time I realized that evil existed was while reading Ayn Rand. She's a Russian-American philosopher, and she said, the good is hated for being the good, nothing else.
Yeah, that is true.
Because
I don't know that author. I have no great connotation with.
Doesn't matter.
Whether.
But the thing is that as a good person, I think I'm a reasonably good person. Sometimes you are confronted with evil, and then you wonder, what have I done wrong?
Oh.
Just as you have had with all that happened to you, and it takes a while before you realize that, like Nietzsche says, the good is a synonym of the strong, and weak people. I have never been duped by a strong person, for instance.
Right.
There's the weak people who do that, and they hate the strong people.
Right.
Because they know, or they think.
Well, they hate the light. They don't have the light, and they hate it. So
they have it. But
just imagine that you're born, and you do not. Not only do you not receive love, but
the devil is protesting. It's raining like hell.
Yeah.
But guy, we are going to keep on talking, man. You can do whatever you want.
Well, I think it's perfect.
Yeah.
Just imagine that not only do you have people around you who do not see your innocence, who project from day one. And with those projections, possibly in the culture, sexual abuse follows. So you never get to enter the first stage of emotional growth.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
You do not get to enter that. What do people need to be with the light and to go back to the self and to connect with spirit? You need to know yourself as innocent.
Wait. Let me contemplate that. You need to know yourself as innocent. Okay. So if you have lost that innocence, you are unable to connect
if
to.
If it's never seen by anyone, if that innocence that you are when you're a newborn, if that innocence, you come straight from the realm of light. Well, you've been in a womb for about 9 months.
Yeah, but okay.
And then you come, but you're still very much, you haven't breathed a breath of air yet. You are just, your senses are just the electricity that the intelligent creation that you are, that spark. Suddenly the electricity is going outward and you're perceiving the world through the 5 senses. So your electricity is now from that realm of light,
Yeah.
inverted into experiencing the world. You are brand new,
Pure. Yeah.
pure, and you have no reflection of it. Then you do not know it as a human.
Because self-consciousness only comes at a later stage.
Yes, but the first stage of life, innocence, brings people into it brings people into the first stage of emotional growth, which is what we need to mature.
Yes.
But if you do not have that first reflection of innocence, you can never mature. But you can also, it's like you're getting pushed out of yourself because you don't even get to know that you are the essence that you are, which is innocence or light.
And how long does this phase last of innocence before the maturing starts?
Well, the innocence is always there behind the covers that we create in life.
Okay, I understand that. But for instance, you grow up in a family where violence, verbal violence is
Well,
regular.
let's say that you grow up to become one of those psychopaths. You've never had your innocence reflected. And then if it's reflected later on, you don't recognize.
Yeah, you don't believe it.
You don't believe it. You don't, because you do not if someone loves you and is unconditional with you, or is simply kind to you, you don't even recognize, because you are now pushed into this exploitation paradigm where everything is about being used, because you do not have your reflection of innocence. So now you are an object from the start. You're being used in abuse or whatever, or you're being used to project on, whatever it is. That's the beginning of exploitation. That becomes the paradigm. You could say that the whole toxic power paradigm is trauma-based. There is no reflection.
I believe that, yeah.
Although, I have to tell you, something very powerful happened the other day, that I speak a lot about the power paradigm. And I realized that I was giving it too much power, because I had this vision that it's actually already a ruin.
Oh, yes. It's coming down.
We have been dissolving it with the love, with the heart.
We are. That's what we're doing.
Yes.
That's great. Yeah, that's true. So when I meet Nihul in Purgatory,
I don't think you'll meet
I think. No, well, no. He's on a different rung. I think I can say that.
But if you keep obsessing about it, you might.
Yeah, well, I'm not obsessing about it, but I'm still trying to. I read this book 2 days ago. I'm still trying to piece together how. Do we know anything about his history? Do we know about something about his parents? I guess we don't.
Nothing.
Because you cannot be like him if nothing happened to you.
That's for sure.
Yeah. So his innocence must have been raped very early on. But I think it's a very liberating conversation, in the sense that the ultimate question. So in this alternative scene, people say, well, we have to go to non-duality and to holism, and until we talk about evil. And then
You don't want to bypass.
Yeah, and then the gloves come off, and we, and
No, we don't want to bypass. You cannot use. I mean, the whole New Age is somehow not what it seems to be either.
No, I don't believe in it.
We do not want to bypass. You cannot bypass.
So explain a bit for the audience. You are talking about spiritual bypassing. What is that?
That's to say that psychological work, in this sense, is spiritual. If you go to your wounds and your pain, which you have to do anyway, if you want to really fully accept what this darkness that exists in the world, you kind of need to be able to look at your own shadow. Your shadow is your trauma.
This is Jung. This is Jungian psychology, what you're saying.
I don't know, but your shadow is your unresolved trauma.
That's good.
It's the pain that you haven't seen yet. It's the fear that you are this bad child. It's the fear that you're bad. You got to face these things and heal, integration. So this, what I've done for 3 decades is, and for a long time, you know, I was a very heavy kind of person because I was dealing with these extremely heavy things, grieving them and feeling that pain. I felt I was carrying the pain for everyone. I mean, it was so heavy.
In a way you have.
And the result of that, why it is spiritual, is if you look at yourself and this neural integration happens. So you have this part that is dissociated from the trauma. And it's different parts. You're split into different parts. There's a part that holds the trauma. There's the part that has been escaping from the trauma, either through managing and controlling or through drugs and other kinds of any kind of escape. So how are you going to bring it together? So when you get to the source of it and you connect those feelings and you've grieved the source, the original betrayal, the original pain, the original loss, integration happens. And what happens from there is spiritual growth, because you are now spiritually, you're more closer to yourself.
More
yes.
Whole. Mm-hmm.
You're a little closer to that innocence. You realize that the shame, the fear was false.
Very important, yeah.
Yeah.
But you only realize
that you as a child were innocent.
Yeah, but you only realize that after fighting the dragon, let's say.
Yeah.
And that's the hero's journey.
You don't know it. You need courage.
That's it. So I don't know if you know the book by Joseph Campbell.
Yeah, sure, I know.
The Hero with 1,000 Faces. So.
Oh, that one? No, I don't know that one particularly. I know the hero's journey.
Yeah, well, it's about that. He collected all kinds of stories from all kinds of cultures, and the most prevalent story is somebody leading a good life suddenly feeling that he has to go on a quest. And he goes on a quest, meets different obstacles, and then he meets the dragon, and the dragon devours him. He appears to lose, the hero. But inside the dragon, he finds the dagger, and he rips open the dragon from within, and this is like a rebirth out of the dragon. So that's the second part of the story. So every story is a bit different, but that's the basic story. And I think that is true in everybody's life. You have to face your dragons, your demons, your shadow.
Most people start to face their demons when they're really down and when their coping mechanisms stop working, or when flashbacks start to come often.
Of things repressed.
Yeah.
So that's the psyche saying, well, now you're ready to integrate.
Yes, or it may be even age-related, apparently, that the amnesic barriers start to break down.
Okay.
30 seems to be an important age when people start remembering things that have been repressed. So once you have this integration, though, this neural integration, you know that you are innocent. You know that it wasn't your fault.
Wow.
Now...
When did you realize that? What age did you realize that?
Well, that goes obviously in many, many stages, but the biggest, I had a huge guilt complex because of the murder. And the last piece of that puzzle fell into place in 2013.
Very recent.
Well,
yes.
9 years ago. And that was the moment I call that the birth of my self-esteem, when I knew I was also ready to speak out publicly, because I knew that I could face attacks now without being attached to praise.
Or praise or condemnation.
Right.
That's good. That's detachment.
I wouldn't need the praise, and I would be okay with being attacked. But they go together.
Yeah, I get that.
And that's because I have self-esteem now, and
what happened? What happened that year that made?
So it was about the killing. It was the last piece of the puzzle that I realized, that made me realize that I never, ever for 1 second wanted to kill. Because, you know, you can get, when you're being made to do things, you have this experience, try to dissociate. I mean, even as an adult, try to say that, you know, there's things that happen to your body, just as when you're being sexually abused. You cannot possibly, as a child especially, but that's why they do it young, but even as an adult, it's very difficult to know the difference between what you really want and what happened to you while you did something, to say that you didn't want it. So it was when I realized that I absolutely never wanted this, fully realized it.
Yeah, and now I realize that I said it was the best choice in that situation. That does not imply that I would say that it's a good thing to do, but it's just, if you look at the options you got, the only other option was to kill yourself.
Well, I would have happily killed myself, but it wouldn't have worked either. That would have been their win. That would have been a win. I had a lot of suicide programming, and I had a lot of messages to kill myself when I was healing. But I knew somewhere that if I do that, they win.
I face a dilemma now. I have to go to the bathroom.
Okay.
Would you be okay with doing a third part?
Yes.
David, are you still up for it? Really? Okay, let's do that. It should, you know, I don't want to take too much of your time, but we're really rolling well, and I think it's like.
I think it needs to be this long, frankly, and I'm really grateful that you're taking all this time and that you're staying and that you're good with hosting. These are not subjects that
we're a team.
You can't do that in 1
hour
or 2.
No, and it's so good. It's so good. I'm learning so much also. And you thank me. I have to thank you. I have to, you know, for all the courage you're showing and all the, my God, this is a world-class interview.
You know, I agree.
Let me go to the bathroom. We'll make it quick and we'll continue.